Now, my next guest is an actor who's made her mark in top-performing US dramas such as Law and Order, CSI and Grey's Anatomy, to name a few. But she's best known for her role as legal secretary Donna Paulson in the hugely successful series Suits. Suits tells the story of a talented college dropout, Mike Ross, who talks his way into becoming high-flyer Harvey Specter's associate, despite never having attended law school. It's the series that brought Meghan Markle to fame as Rachel Zane, and the cast are notoriously tight-lipped when it comes to talking about their former cast member. But anyway, much the more interesting character in the show is Donna, played by Sarah Rafferty, and with a name like that, I think it's safe to say she's one of our own. Anyway, Donna Paulson begins life in the series as a legal secretary and confidant to our hero Harvey, but she's oh so much more than that.
I'm sorry, do we...
know each other? Not yet. But today's your lucky day.
And why is that?
Because it's the day you get to meet Donna.
Let me guess, you're Donna.
Oh, you have no idea how Donna I am. I will take a bullet for you. And I don't mean that literally. But what you do for me is, when I need something, you give it to me. It's not just a one-way street.
We also do some actual secretarial work?
Take a look at what I did with your calendar there, hotshot.
Holy shit. When did you get that done?
Told you I'm not like every other secretary. I'm Donna.
She's smart, sassy and sensational, and the simmering chemistry between herself and Harvey is what underpins the entire series. If you missed it on RT television and haven't watched it on Netflix yet, you're in for a real treat. Sarah Rafferty, good morning.
Good morning. How are you, Marty?
I'm very well indeed. I have to ask, with a name like Sarah Rafferty, your family obviously started life way back over this part of the world, across the Atlantic. So where did it all start?
I'm in an interview. Hold on one second.
Okay.
I'm literally live on Sorry about that. This
That's
is
okay.
what's been happening in COVID, which is parents are constantly interrupted. So
So who interrupted us this morning?
My daughter, who I'm very proud to say has a very Irish name. Her name is Una.
Una?
Yes, but I am proud to say I have proud Irish roots. I'm also very excited to be joining our president-elect and being very proud about Irish roots. That's for sure.
We're all delighted with that. And it's
Yes,
nice to have
yes.
that Irish connection with the Oval Office. And growing up, was that Irish influence there?
So my dad, he's obviously Rafferty and also Flaherty, and my mom is half Irish with McAllister, and they traveled back many, many times back in the 80s and visited churches and checked church records and found family and were reunited with long-lost cousins. And my dad was so passionate about his Irish roots that he actually got an Irish passport, so he's a dual citizen. And I have been back to Ireland now 3 times. First, I traveled back at the invitation of Trinity College in Dublin. The Law Society was kind enough to host me, and I traveled back with my sisters and my parents as a surprise for their 75th and 80th birthdays. And then more recently, I brought my kids and my husband.
Now, one of the things that fans of Suits would be well aware of, Sarah, is that walk. How you would swing your hips as you sashayed down the corridors of Spectre lit, or Pearson Hardman as it was originally known, was fascinating. Did you practice that? Was that just sheer, utter natural talent?
Oh, Marty, if you were wearing sky-high heels and girdles and skin-tight couture outfits, that you would walk that way too. I got to tell you, it's all from the outside in. That's just, I had to swing my hips and my arms to be able to propel myself down the hallways at the same speed as whoever I was walking with. Try walking with, next to some of those men. They're the ones that are in the comfortable shoes. I was just, flying. I was sort of nervous about it because I played lacrosse in high school and college, and sometimes I would see some of the playback and I'd be like, oh my God, look at how I'm swinging my shoulders and my arms. You can really tell that I cradled a lacrosse ball for years.
So
you're
lacrosse played a
generous
part.
to bring it up. You never know as an actor, you never know when you're going to call on your past experiences to get you through.
Well, Sarah, let me tell you, it worked. It had an impact on all of us. How much input do you have in developing aspects of a character like that? Would they listen to you?
That's such a good question. I think, well, with Donna was a small role initially in the pilot, just a few scenes, a few lines. But I think what ended up happening was that they saw the connection between Gabriel and I as actors. They wrote that into the relationship of our characters. I think it's a testimony, like when you're in school as a kid, you always hear there's no small parts, there's only small actors. And I do think it's true that there are no small parts. Donna, when I first read her, I knew that she had a very interesting backstory and that, there was room for that to be developed. And I was thrilled in how the writers decided to develop her. But an interesting moment in terms of that input came, I was on set after the last presidential election, and during the entire time that Hillary Clinton was running for president. And as you might remember, it was very interesting how she was treated and an interesting gender dynamic. And so after the election, I was on set with Aaron Korsh, our creator, and in that moment, we had a conversation because we knew the show was going to go into another few seasons, and I said, we really need to do something with Donna. We need to take her to the next level. We need her to have an inspiring storyline for the women and the girls who are watching her and who are tuned into her. I just felt like it was time, to see somebody win, to see a woman win. So we had a conversation about that, and then lo and behold, a few months later, he wrote in the storyline that Donna became partner and COO, and wasn't, she came out from being just the woman behind the man, which I was happy that we had, the time and the runway to explore that.
Well, it's so brilliantly produced, and the acting and the storylines are top class. When you read the script initially, Sarah, did you say, oh my God, this has real potential?
Absolutely. So what was interesting was that it was Gabriel had already signed on to do it, and we had become friends way back. We met in 1993 at the Williamstown Theater Festival. We were both theater kids and became fast friends. And so cut to many years later, I was actually at a premiere for one of the films that he was in with his wife, Jacinda Barrett. And he said, I just signed on for this show. I'm going to send you the script tonight. Promise me you'll read it. There's this role in there. It's a small role, but I'm sure it's going to become a bigger part. Will you promise me you'll look at it and audition for it? So I did. So I owe it to him. He's the one who handed me the script.
And in terms of the cast, Sarah, was it a tight-knit group?
Oh, absolutely. So we shot the show in Toronto. We moved up there, and it's like going to camp, like sleepaway camp, you know what I mean? You're just, all of a sudden, we were all together up there, and, the hours on a TV show means that you spend a lot of time together. So it was really wonderful, and we really had a family dynamic. I definitely miss those times in the hair and makeup trailer early in the morning when all the silliness happens. It's kind of like at a party when everybody's in the kitchen at the end of the night. It's the same vibe early in the mornings in the hair and makeup trailer. We do keep in touch. It's really lovely.
Yeah. I have to ask you, Sarah, what is the can opener for? I know it's probably an in-joke, but I could never quite get it. I kept catching up on it.
I know. A lot of people, that's one of the first questions that people ask me frequently when I'm stopped on the street. What's the ritual with the can opener? What's the can opener? Aaron Korsh, our creator, absolutely refused to ever reveal what the can opener was. I had an idea in my head about what the can opener was, just to have that be specific as an actor, but I think the interesting thing about the can opener is its mystery, and that people can decide for themselves what it was. That was actually a really interesting part of being on the show at a time when social media was just coming into the forefront, was getting the feedback in real time on episodes, and before they ever revealed that Donna and Harvey had maybe gotten together in their past, neither Gabriel nor I were playing that they had. So it was really interesting that people were perceiving that they had, and then the writers just went with it. Yeah. It's kind of fascinating that fans can drive storylines too.
So what's next for Sarah Rafferty? I mean, is there a role that you have a burning ambition to play? Is there something on the agenda?
Oh, you know what? That's one thing I've let go of. Plans. I think COVID has taught us that the plans aren't up to us. I'm open to the magic, and I'm excited for the next chapter. I'm open to anything. I just like to be a part of the storytelling. It has not been a busy year, acting-wise, because it's a challenging time for the business. But early on in the year, I was on Grey's Anatomy, and that was really fun. It was really fun to be on another set. And
yeah, what was that like? Because, I mean, it's kind of a recurring character you played, and like Grey's Anatomy is like a juggernaut.
Yeah, it is. It was so different from Suits because I was just in a hospital gown and in...
so the high heels were gone.
The heels were gone, the girdles were gone, the false eyelashes were gone, and actually the makeup was like blue makeup under the eyes and anything to make you look unwell. So it was quite a different experience and super fun. Super fun shade.
I mean, when I think of your career so far, I mean, you grew up in Connecticut, you had dreams, you became part of a wonderful series, you attended a royal wedding in London, you were part of Grey's Anatomy. You've lived a dream, I suppose, Sarah, have you?
I have. Right now, it feels like more than I ever dreamed of. I don't know what that says about how we... My experience is that we tell our kids, dream big. I never dreamed of these things exactly. So I always tell my kids to dream big and also be ready to be surprised. There's magic around any corner, You never know. Just show up.
and keep working.
Show up and be delighted. Yeah. Allow yourself to be delighted because it has been a delight.
No, it's been a terrible year for the whole world, Sarah. So how did Sarah Rafferty and her children and husband, how did you cope with this coronavirus?
Well, gosh, it really has been such a terrible year. We're all in this same storm, but the truth is that we're all in different boats. So my hope is that the magic that comes out of this time is that everybody's empathy gets, really developed, and we can move forward when we come out of this more empathetic and looking out for each other.
And finally, is there any chance of a Series 10 of Suits?
Oh, my goodness. Anything is possible. Who knows? Wouldn't that be fun at some point? As long as there's a really interesting story to tell, I'd love to be a part of it. It'll never get old being able to put on Donna's shoes and try to toss myself down the hallway. We'll see.
Well, you made a lasting impression. There's no doubt you're one of us, Sarah. I know you might have been brought up in Connecticut. I know you might be American, but I tell you, after this interview, Sarah, we are claiming it.
I'm thrilled.
And a Happy New Year, Sarah. And thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much. It was my pleasure. Happy New Year. Happy holidays to everybody.